The air in the upscale loft venue was thick with the scent of gardenias and ambition. I stood just inside the doorway, my trusted leather briefcase in one hand and a modest clutch in the other, feeling the stark contrast of my courtroom-appropriate blouse and slacks against a sea of sequins and silk. My sister Vanessa's engagement party was in full swing, a glittering tableau of her perfect life. I'd come straight from a marathon session finalizing jury instructions, my mind still holding the weight of a defendant's fate. I hadn't had time to change, a fact Vanessa seized upon with the precision of a prosecutor. "Rebecca, can you not embarrass me tonight?" Her voice, honed for an audience, carried across the clinking glasses. "You look like you just left a library, not a celebration." A beat of silence, then a ripple of nervous laughter from her circle of bridesmaids. Her fiancé, Derek Calloway, a man whose smile never quite reached his cold, assessing eyes, chuckled without looking at me. The heat of humiliation flooded my cheeks, a familiar yet unwelcome guest. My name is Rebecca Hale, and for 31 years I have been the backdrop in the vibrant portrait of my family. Vanessa was the masterpiece, glamorous, loud, effortlessly commanding attention and resources. I was the steadying graphite, quiet, studious, a public defender who fought for the indigent and the forgotten. My parents' refrain, "Why can't you be more like Vanessa?" was the soundtrack of my youth. While they financed her influencer-branded lifestyle and now celebrated her engagement to a wealthy real estate developer, my 7 years of legal service were dismissed as a noble but unprofitable phase. They saw my simple apartment and my sensible shoes as proof of my small life. They had no inkling that my world was about to collide with theirs in a way that would rewrite every assumption. The engagement party humiliation was just the opening argument. Vanessa's gift to me, a professionally printed, framed rejection from the bridal party letter, was presented as a hilarious bit. The room roared. I set it down on a passing waiter's tray, the clink of the crystal frame against the metal, a tiny sound of defiance, and left, the echo of their laughter clinging to me like a shroud. The weeks that followed were a meticulous campaign of erasure. I was excluded from the A-list wedding planning chat. At the bridal shower, held at our parents' meticulously decorated home, the handcrafted leather journal I'd sourced from a beloved local bookbinder, filled with blank pages for her new marital hopes, was received with a wrinkled nose. "A journal, Rebecca? I'm getting married, not drafting a brief." A pause, then the killer blow, delivered with a saccharine smile. "Oh, wait, you barely got through law school yourself, right?" The gasps were masked by forced giggles. Later, hiding in the hallway, I heard her confide to her maid of honor, "I love her, but she's just so insignificant. No spark." The catalyst was a phone call. "Rebecca, sweetie," Vanessa purred, an unfamiliar warmth in her voice. "Derek's company has this tiny zoning hiccup. Since you're, in the system, could you make a call, maybe to a judge, just smooth things over?" When I explained the severe ethical and legal violations such a request would entail, her facade shattered. "God, you're useless. You never leverage anything for family." The click of the disconnect was a period at the end of a long, painful sentence. That word, Calloway, triggered a deep professional instinct. Back in my office, surrounded by case files and the quiet hum of justice at work, I pulled a new filing, Calloway Development LLC versus City Planning. The allegations were serious: bribery of officials, falsified environmental impact reports, illegal rezoning. The case was a ticking bomb for Derek's carefully constructed empire, and the newly appointed judge to whom it had been randomly assigned, the Honorable Rebecca M. Hale, me. The irony was a private, potent thing. 2 weeks prior, in a small, solemn ceremony attended only by a few colleagues and my mentor, Judge Carolyn Hart, I had taken the oath for the district court bench. I'd chosen to keep it private, wanting the focus on the work, not the title. The official press release was timed after Vanessa's wedding, a tragically poetic separation. I met Carolyn for lunch. "You know the drill, Rebecca. Immediate recusal. This is a textbook conflict." I nodded. "I'll file it Monday morning." She studied me over her salad. "They still don't know, do they?" I gave a small, wry smile. "They haven't asked." So I became a spectator in my own family drama. I attended the rehearsal dinner at the exclusive Oakmont Country Club, seated at the family adjunct table near the kitchen doors. I wore a dress I'd owned for years. I listened as Vanessa toasted Derek's brilliance and their impenetrable future. I watched Derek hold court, boasting about handling his legal troubles. "It's just a formality," he assured his anxious father-in-law. "I know people." Then the digital tremor. A groomsman's phone buzzed with a news alert. Then another. A low murmur spread. Derek's corporate counsel, a sharp-faced man named Edwards, who had been glancing at his phone with increasing anxiety, suddenly stood up, his chair screeching on the parquet. All conversation died. "Derek," he said, his voice strained. He was staring at his screen, then at me, then back at the screen. The color drained from his face. "The new judicial appointment, the Calloway case assignment." Derek frowned, irritated by the interruption. "What about it?" "Judge whatever. We'll deal with it." Edwards swallowed hard. He pointed directly at me, his finger trembling slightly. "It's her, Derek. That's Judge Hale." A vacuum of sound. Every head turned. 70 pairs of eyes locked onto me. Derek's confident smirk dissolved, replaced with a blank, processing stare. "What?" "Your sister-in-law," Edwards clarified, his voice hollow. "Rebecca. She's the judge on your docket." The realization hit Derek like a physical blow. He swayed slightly, his hand gripping the back of a chair. "You?" he breathed, the word full of disbelief and dawning horror. "You're the judge? You're presiding over my case?" Vanessa looked between us, baffled. "What is this? What are you talking about? Rebecca's a public defender." I placed my napkin on the table, the white linen a stark contrast to the dark wood. I stood, not with drama, but with the calm authority of the bench I now occupied. I was sworn in as a district court judge 2 weeks ago. The Calloway development case was randomly assigned to my courtroom. However, given our familial connection, I will be recusing myself from the matter first thing tomorrow morning. It's a clear ethical imperative. Vanessa's face cycled through confusion, shock, and a furious, humiliated understanding. "You're a judge? Why didn't you say anything?" I met her gaze, the years of diminishment crystallizing in that moment. "You never asked, Vanessa. You were too busy defining me by what I wasn't." Derek exploded, whirling on Vanessa. "You told me she was a nobody, a glorified social worker. You said she couldn't help us." His panic was naked, stripping away the polished developer veneer to reveal the cornered man beneath. The room was a frozen diorama of shock. My parents stared, mouths agape. I collected my purse. "My recusal is procedural," I continued, addressing Derek but speaking to the room. "But I've reviewed the preliminary filings. My advice, as a family member and an officer of the court, would be to consider a settlement. The evidence cited by the commission appears substantial." I let the legal understatement hang in the air. I walked out, leaving behind a silence more deafening than any mockery. The click of my heels on the marble was the only sound. The next day, I attended the wedding. I wore a simple, elegant navy dress. I took a seat in the middle pews, neither hiding nor seeking attention. Vanessa avoided my eyes throughout the ceremony. Derek's gaze skittered away whenever it neared my direction. At the reception, my parents approached, a new, uneasy deference in their manner. "We're so proud, Rebecca," my father stammered. "Thank you," I said gently, "but I need you to understand, I was worthy of your pride before the title. The woman I was yesterday is the same one today. You just finally see her." On Monday, I filed the recusal. Another judge heard the case, and the ruling was swift and damning against Calloway. The zoning hiccup cost Derek a fortune and a significant portion of his reputation. Vanessa's lengthy, emotional apology email arrived a month later. I replied with grace, but maintained a new, firm distance. The family invitations now came with a palpable, careful respect. The dynamic had been permanently and peacefully overturned. They had mocked the woman with the briefcase, the sister in the sensible clothes, the small life dedicated to quiet service. In their effort to diminish me, they had failed to see the formidable power of principle, patience, and silent strength. The ultimate verdict was delivered not in my courtroom, but in the stunned silence of a country club, where the librarian they underestimated finally closed the book on their narrative and opened the bench to her own.